Mr. Burson, Secretary Johnson is quoted as saying that there were legal limits on his ability to do some background investigations. I think that was a really unfortunate phrase that he used, but let's you and I see if we can kind of demystify that a little bit. Do you agree that non-citizens who are not in the United States are not afforded any protections under the Fourth Amendment?
That's my understanding, Mr. Gowdy.
Well, you were a U.S. attorney. You're being modest. Not only is that your understanding, it's also the law. The Fourth Amendment does not apply to non-U.S. citizens who are not here any more than the Eighth Amendment applies to non-U.S. citizens who are not here. Would you agree with me that there is no legal bar to accessing data from non-citizens who are not present in the United States?
Absent a treaty to the contrary, that's my understanding, sir.
Would you also agree with me that there is no legal right to immigrate to the United States? It's a privilege that we confer on people, but it is not a right.
That's correct, sir.
So would you also agree that you can condition the conference of a privilege on just about anything you want, so long as you don't violate a treaty or
the Constitution?
Or the Constitution. But you made, I'm sure, extensive use of polygraphs when you were the United States Attorney.
From time to time, yes, sir.
All right, and they're not admissible in court, are they?
Not generally, no.
But we still use them because they're a very effective investigative tool. Do we use them in the vetting of people who want to come here?
With regard to immigration benefits, I'm not familiar with the policy in the refugee context. We do not regularly use a polygraph. If there's significant doubt in the operational component, given the border authorities that ICE and CBP have, typically the decision would be made to bar entry rather than to go to the extent of trying to ascertain veracity.
But you and I didn't just use polygraphs in our previous lives because we had doubt. Sometimes it incensed the person to want to embrace the truth when they think it might be a threat that they're going to be polygraphed. I mean, you certainly can't admit it in court. So it's not only the result, deception or otherwise, it is the threat that you may be polygraphed that sometimes provides people with the incentive to either tell the truth or they need not apply in the first place, right?
That can be one reaction from an individual, and I'm not aware, Mr. Gowdy, of any policy that would prevent that. I'm also not aware operationally, as a former CBP commissioner, that it's been used in any regular way.
Well, let me tell you where I find myself. I just listened to Ben Rhodes give a series of words like extensive, thorough, careful. I have heard tough. I have heard multiple, all in connection with the word vetting. It's all amplified the word vetting. And I just sat here and thought, well, if all of that was true, how did we miss the lady in San Bernardino?
As the FBI director said, Mr. Gowdy, and I think is the fact that there was nothing in the system that we used that would pick that up. There was no data that we would turn into actionable information to deny admission.
I get you, Mr. Burson, but I got to be candid with you. That doesn't make me feel any better. I mean, it's one thing to argue that there was information there and we missed it. That's one set of corrective measures. Right. It's another thing to argue, as I hear we are currently arguing, this administration, that we missed nothing. So we have someone willing and capable of killing 14 people, and there was nothing in her background that this administration says we missed or should have picked up on, and yet there's still 14 dead people. So how does that make us feel better?
Mr. Gowdy, I think I don't think anyone would gainsay the sense of tragedy, and I don't think anyone's saying that were that information, that data in the system, that we would not all be relieved and thankful if it had led to the apprehension of those murderers. But the issue that you asked is factually, were there data in the system by which we could tell that this risk existed? And the answer to that is no. I think the inquiry that's being made here today is a valid one, as Director Rodriguez suggests, and that we need to actually look at this hard and long in terms of the utilization of means. I will say that there is no secret policy in DHS against the use of social media, and there is nothing in the privacy policy that would bar it for screening purposes.
Well, it couldn't be because it doesn't apply to non-U.S. citizens. I'm out of time. I just want to tell you the dichotomy as I see it. We have a choice. We can either tell the American people that our process and our systems are flawed and that we have missed information that is otherwise available and let them deal with that, or we can just tell our fellow citizens we missed nothing. We did everything we were supposed to do, and there's still 14 funerals in California, so you just need to get used to the risk. Neither one of those is acceptable, I would argue to you.
Mr. Gowdy, I've not heard anyone who was involved in law enforcement or in the Homeland Security enterprise that wouldn't say that we need to strengthen our systems. We've been doing that continuously for the 14.
Gentleman's time is